Good morning, pumpkins. It's Halloween 2021. And with it being Halloween, I thought it'd be really good to tell you one of my, I'd have to say it's probably my most interesting ghost story. I don't know, I guess it's kind of subjective, but I'll let you decide. So not only was I being pursued by a ghost that was, in three-dimensional space-time, but then whatever you call that space-time when you're out of body and doing remote viewing, that's something that I started to do, I would say, in my mid-20s. And if you're just dropping in, I'll do a quick recap. I've been seeing ghosts since I was 9. Been doing astral projection or remote viewing since I was 14. And the silos I pretty much kept unto themselves. And then I don't know how or why at this moment in time, why I had the epiphany of why can't I mix the silos? So maybe a sense of protection or self-preservation. But I would remote view a location that I was going to actually be in the next day, physically. So I did this backwards, I guess. So the location I'm talking about is Stokely Mansion, which is on the campus of Marion College. Well, now it's Marion University in Indianapolis, and the campus is largely made up of 3 mansions. You have Allison Mansion, if you know Detroit Diesel Allison, or Allison Transmissions. If you're into diesel mechanics, you'll know that name. Fisher, who had a bicycle company, and Stokely, which would later be Stokely Van Camp, Pork and Beans. I think Stokely was making the enclosed headlamp for this new invention called the automobile. And these 3 guys, and maybe some other investors, they built a test track for the automobile. And this test track would later become the Indianapolis 500. But they all had a hand in making something for the automobile. And considering this was turn of the century, 1900s, 19-teens, when you're a millionaire in that time frame, you pretty much could, run your show. But if you're a millionaire during the Depression, you could really run your game with very little interference. And I think that's what was going on here. But anyway, so William Stokely, millionaire, built this like a brick Italianate, I think is what the architecture's called. But the house is basically in the shape of an L. And in the lower part of an L, there was like a little port where you could pull up your car and it would be covered and you wouldn't be exposed to, rain or snow. Porte de couture, maybe is what it was called. But anyway, so my job during college was to take care of this building, cleaning, sweeping, dusting, whatever. It was part of my work study program, and then also part of me working for maintenance. And it was also the school's music building. And at the time I was double majoring in music and English, so spent a lot of time there. The building itself was 3 stories and a basement, or 2 stories with an attic and a basement. The attic was rather large. I mean, you could have several servants sleeping up there, and there was a sauna up there, and winter storage or dry storage was up there as well. So, I mean, it had a very tall peak, so truly dormitory living could have been done up there. But it was locked 99% of the time. There was no point in students being up there. A lot of Christmas decorations and such. So I didn't want, kids in there. The first floor and second floor were offices and recital rooms, practice rooms, I think maybe a couple of offices. So, I mean, it was basically being utilized by the school. But still, it had the history, had this really nice, heavy oak paneling along the walls and the pillars in the foyer. Also, these probably 3-foot square pillars, wooden parquet floors. It was resolute, I think would be a good adjective for this place. But at some point in time, Mr. Stokely decided, the story I've heard is that he was a millionaire, lost it, and managed to make it back. But somehow, some way, depression got a hold of him, and he ended up sending the wife and the kid off to into the city, and he took a shotgun, went into the bathroom, and blew his head off. And that room was right next to the classroom, so interesting vibe in that classroom. But anyway, so I spent a lot of time there and was, cleaning and dusting and yada yada. Sometimes also I gave tours because they would be used for, wedding receptions or parties or things like that. And so you got to let the decorators, desecrators in. Have to, while people were there, maybe give small tours, or people would ask about the history of the house, and so you had to have a couple of things in your pocket. And then after you close up, then you're the last person there, making sure everything's locked up tight and the security lights are on, yada yada. So there was times that I was there in the daylight by myself and after dark by myself. Daylight, it was kind of like that feeling watched type of thing. While there's all this energy and people going around and such, it wasn't that big of a deal. But after that energy was gone, and again, there's no one around, it was definitely a feeling of being watched. And then there was also things that started to manifest, creaking in the floors. Again, these old parquet floors, the wood, it had a cadence to it, as people were walking on it, it had a squeak, squeak, squeak. So you'd hear that same cadence, but there would be no one in the building. And I'd go look. And it got to the point where I just, okay, fine, it's just whatever it is. It's the house settling or whatever. And at the time, I just really didn't know if it was haunted or not, because college students will, they'll tell stories. But then when I started talking to the security guys that'd been there for a while, they're like, yeah, I lock up and I don't go back. I'll drive by, I'll walk around, but I don't go in afterward. And a couple other stories along that tangent. But so I had the squeaks going on, and it bothered me for a while, and then I just started ignoring it and kept doing my thing. And it's like it escalated because I wasn't giving it the due, I guess, that whatever it was thought it deserved. So then the lights started changing. So there were certain lights that you left on and certain lights you turned off at the end of the day, and that was kind of like how security would go by, and it's like, okay, I know it's locked up. Well, those lights would change, and I would literally walk out the door, and as I look back, lights had changed. And I just started questioning myself. It was like, well, I thought I turned that light off. I wasn't sure if I did or didn't. Then again, it was a momentary curiosity, and then I just let it go and just kind of rationalize it away, I think, like most people do. And up to now, my ghost experience was family who had passed away, and one friend who had also passed away. So, my experience with ghosts, it was, very friendly, but I also had this physical feeling. I got kind of this like cold chill that would happen, and the cold chill started, and that's when I was like, okay, something's trying to talk to me. And it's like the squeaky floor, it's not friends being jerks and trying to scare me. The cold spots, I forgot to mention that. There were cold spots here and there. Again, it's nearly 100-year-old building and single pane glass. And I'm like, okay, maybe it's that. But then it got to the point where I felt like either the back of my hair got touched. Again, the cold, since the cold spot, and then the cold chills, which are two different things. And so then I just started talking to it, and I'm like, okay, I don't know who you are, what you want, but my name's John. I'm a student here. I'm taking care of the place, and the intention is just you do your thing, I'll do my thing. Leave me alone, and I'll be out of your hair shortly. I guess he didn't have hair to worry about. But anyway, so all of these things were just kind of like working themselves up to the point where one evening, there by myself, closing up, going through my routine, and I'm just about to walk out the side door by the porte cochere, and this car came up, and it's like a horseshoe driveway. So you come up one side of the property of the mansion, you cross in front of the doorway, and then you go back out to the street again. No one used that, at least if you knew the campus, because it didn't go anywhere. And so when a car came up, and again, it's nighttime, and the headlights kind of like come in, and so I watched the headlights. And again, I'm thinking it might be one of my friends, and so I'm trying to discern, what car this is, and I couldn't make it out. And I'm like, well, I'll just go ahead and leave. Maybe it's someone that just, needs to turn around, or they're lost or whatever. So I turned to turn around and go back to the door and let myself out. But as I turned, my vision swept across the foyer and into the, I don't know, you'd call it a receiving room, or, I don't know, it was at the front of the house. It had, a baby grand in it, and probably seating for about 40 people. Huge fireplace that kind of dominated the space. So if there was a such thing as a living room, I guess that's what that room would have been. But at the time, all the chairs were put away, and it was just a baby grand piano sitting in there. But as the headlights swept through that room, I saw this figure. And he was a robust and hale gentleman. Rotund would be too much, so we'll say just robust and hale, stocky, but wearing a like a tweed pattern wool suit, 3-piece. The vest, I could still see like the sheen of the buttons on the vest. The vest, he also had like a watch chain, because there was 2 like scalloped loops that went into pockets on the side. And from the knees down, there was nothing, which could have been just because of the lights didn't go that low. But from the neck up, also nothing. But I mean, the apparition was as though someone like stuck a mannequin in the room. I mean, it looked real. So I hope I was wearing brown pants that day or that night. So I was like, oh, hell to the no. And I hauled ass out of there. I don't even remember locking the door. I went back the next morning to check, and it was locked, but because the last thing you want is a bunch of angry nuns talking about you. Boy, they can hold a grudge. Woo. But anyway, So that day, I'm sure, I talked to my voice teacher who had an office on the opposite side of that foyer. And I'm like, do you ever see anything strange here? And she just went right to it. Oh, me, Mr. Stokely? Yeah. She's like, yeah, he shows up every once in a while. And she's very nonchalant about it. But, I guess after a dozen years or so of having an office there, she just kind of was nonchalant. But she was like, yeah, he comes and he goes. And every once in a while I'll see him out of the corner of my eye. And if I'm here working late, he's checking up on me. And I just tell him, hey, I'm about to leave, just finishing up some work here. But he does his thing and I do mine, and we just kind of let it be. And so it's just like, so all the times I've been working here late at night or cleaning up or, no one thought to tell me, hello. And she's like, well, not everyone sees him. So why scare people needlessly? But now that you've seen him, here's the down low. And so she told me the story and the history and the suicide and some more details that are pertinent. Is that so if you sang in a minor key, it got cold. If you sang in a major key, it got warmer. And if you sang in German, it would get warmer. And Stokely was of German descent. So with that bit of knowledge, I had an instance where I was getting ready for a recital, and knowing what I knew, I gotten to a point where I just, okay, I'll treat him the same way. And every once in a while I'll be in there and feel a cold chill. Hey, it's me. I'm just here and clean. I'm going to leave. So I'm getting ready for a recital. I'm there by myself. And because I had keys to the place, sometimes I would go after hours, 10, 11 o'clock sometimes, and rehearse. And I was carrying like 17 credit hours and working a part-time job, so it was really good for me to have that flexibility, and I made use of it. But it's winter, it's cold. I remember, snow crunching on the sidewalk as I would, walk up to the building. Got in and start in that same room, because that's where the best piano was. And so I'm rehearsing for an upcoming recital. And I've got all different types of languages. I don't know if I was at 5 or 6 languages at that point. But anyway, so I was working on the piece, and I saved my German song for last. And at this point, I'm wearing, heavy sweatpants, a shirt, a flannel shirt, a hoodie, and my winter coat. I'd taken that off. I'd finally, got enough energy going on that I was warm. But again, still cold in the room. So I started singing a piece, Schubert, German, and it was a song called Aufenthalt. And it's a pretty aggressive, resilient man standing against nature type of song. So I'm into it. I'm keeping my eye out for the apparition, nothing. But I'm getting progressively warmer. But it's also an aggressive song. So the hoodie comes off. Flannel shirt comes off. So I'm there in sweatpants and t-shirt. And I've been through it like 4 or 5 times, and my throat was a little sore at that point. So I was like, okay, let's stop, let's rest a little bit. And as I'm just kind of like walking around the room and thinking about, different aspects of the song that I still want to kind of pull out. I noticed that there's water beating up on the windows and a little bit of water on the lintel of the or ledge of the window. And I'm like, how hot is it in here that it's forming condensation on the window? So I walk over to the, old-fashioned thermometer. It's on the wall, kind of a big brass Art Deco looking thing. But it was like 82 degrees in the room. And again, it was a big room. I think it had maybe 9-foot high, 10-foot high pocket doors that you kind of slide in and out. So I'm guessing the room had to be at least 12 foot high. So I want to guess a 12 by 25 room. It's a lot of volume. And so for it to be that hot at, my chest level, who knows how hot it was, up near the ceiling. But anyway, it was shocking to me how warm it had gotten in there. And I was completely in my left brain, and I was thinking, wow, I got to tell maintenance that the boiler might need to be adjusted. So I figure, look, I'm done. Over rehearsing can be a problem, especially when songs go too long or too far. So I ended up packing up all my stuff, gathering up everything, walk to the door. I open the pocket doors, and this huge gust of cold air comes in. And again, I didn't know what that was. I didn't know if it was a ghost. It startled me to the point where I'm like, nope, no, thank you. And like that car commercial with the guys in the attic. No, thank you. Nope. So I was like, same thing. Bang, out the door I go. But I tell the maintenance guy the next day, I said, hey, I think there's something wrong with the boiler over in the music building. He's like, yeah, tell me something I don't know. And I thought he was like, I've been at this since the 70s, and it's, the 90s now, so yeah, I know. But I elaborated. I said, no, I was rehearsing there last night, and the front room got to 80 some degrees, and the rest of the place was, bone cold. I said it was so warm in there was condensation on the windows. He just kind of gave me this sideways glance. He's like, John, that boiler's been shut down for 2 days. We had to red tag it. What? So red tagging, in case you don't know, is like if there's a mechanical device that's not operating safely, they'll turn it off and then they'll lock it down. And sometimes they'll put like a red tag or something on it to say unsafe for use. Anyway, so the fact that it was red tagging, I still got up to 82 degrees in that room, told me that, okay, we're connecting, and I'm guessing it's Stokely, and we're connecting, and I'm there enough that maybe I can reach out to him and find out why he's messing with me or what he wants me to do. So I'm like, okay, let's try this remote viewing thing. So one evening I'm going to bed, and I set my intention to go over there, and I was still young enough, I was still making mistakes. And so one of the things I had not learned yet was to set my win. So in your remote view, you can go to anywhere, but also anytime. And if you don't set those variables, it's like, hey, I want to go see, the Eiffel Tower. Well, you may see it, in 2060 when it's broken, or you may go see it in, before the World's Fair. I think it was 1908 when it was being built by Eiffel. So anyway, I end up going to the mansion, but I end up going to the mansion, which I'm guessing was probably in the early 1930s. I think the mansion was complete in 1919, 1921. But yeah, I mean, these, Persian rugs on the floor, and these nice big leather chairs, the bookcases, these big wooden barrister bookcases with the glass fronts, nice leather books. I mean, it was wealth and prestige, obviously. And so I was just looking around and taking it in and enjoying the comparison of what I was seeing day to day and what it was, and seeing the grandeur. And the thing that I hadn't thought about was I was originally going to have a conversation with Stokely, and instead I was enthralled by what I was seeing and the comparison. And as I rounded the corner into the office, there he was. And so he had kind of a Teddy Roosevelt look about him, a little thicker in the face, but he still had the wire rim glasses and the bushy mustache, and still wearing the same wool suit, but really cheerful. And it's like, oh, I'm so glad we could finally meet. And so, yeah, I was just like, yeah, I tried to explain to you that I'm just here cleaning up and doing my thing. He's like, well, I just wanted to reach out to you, and I wanted to get to know you. He says, and I'm so filled with gratitude that you see the house as something beautiful and not just a school. And I watch you, and I see the effort you put in to doing things. And so that's why I wanted to make myself known to you, because I'm glad that you're taking an interest in this. Oh, cool. So completely dropping my guard, and not even wise enough to know that I needed to have a guard up. So it takes me through a tour of the house. We start in the attic, we walk through, and he showed me how the sauna worked. It was just a series of light bulbs. It was just nothing but light bulbs inside this thing. But showed me how that worked, and then we worked our way down. And again, I'm looking in rooms that what I knew, and then he would, well, this is what this is now, and blah, blah, blah. He showed me where his office was upstairs. He showed me where the hidden safe was that was built into the fireplace, for the bedroom. Explained that this wasn't a patio, that was actually that in the summer they would sleep out there. The family would actually sleep out there in the patio because it was cooler. Just little idiosyncrasies that I know modern guy didn't know. But we work our way through, and we get all the way down, and now we start to head down towards the basement. And just for a quick snapshot, it was like, you may want to be careful. And he turns around and says, no, you want to be careful down here. He says, because there's a network of air conditioning ducts and such, and the boiler's down here. So, and I'm like, okay, so that's what that was. So again, rationalizing it away. But yeah, so he shows me the boiler and how it works, and then he showed me how there's water from the spring on the property runs through a block house filled with ice, and then this cold water is then filtered through the house and had fans behind it, and so that's how they air conditioned the house back then. And again, I'm just nerding out on all this and enjoying it. And we get around to the front of the basement, the furthest point away from the stairs, and there's like a locker. He goes, and I don't know if they called it a larder or a locker or something like that, but it was a big, heavy door, like the old refrigerator doors, wood, but it had this huge metal kerchunk type thing to open it up, and it was almost like opening like a castle door. But you go inside there, and it was concrete, and then it kicked out about 2 feet, like a bench, all the way around for just more stuff to be set. And in the middle, there was a pillar that had been built up. Again, more stuff, onions and turnips and potatoes and things like that. And then there was a metal rack in the ceiling with hooks, and there was like a side of, I think it was a side of pork hanging there. But again, I'm like, oh, okay, this is kind of cool. And then all of a sudden, whammo. In the corner was probably a 5 to 6 year old child, naked, dirty, and just like startled. And it absolutely freaked me out. And that's when it got ugly. We'll carry on with the next video. Sorry to do that to you, but I'm running along. So come on to the next one.